This is part 71 of our cry for help. Joe is sleeping. I can't sleep because I am fearing for both of our lives. And so is Joe, but he's exhausted. I'm exhausted. But I need to make one last video before I go to sleep to continue of the outrageous illicit activities conducted at the Social Security offices in Portland, Maine and Rutland, Vermont. Okay? And I forgot what I was actually up to. We went into the Social Security office in Rutland, Vermont, and we went out of there. I explained the illicit activities that started there, and the same people came. It's always the same people that do this to us in every office, okay? And we cannot get the legitimate, ethical people that would get us out of this corrupted, murderous, satanical mess that we are in. Anyway, yesterday and today, June 20th and June 21st, we decided to go to another state to apply for Joe's Social Security disability. So we went to Portland, Maine. I think I was telling the citizens of the world how we were sitting there. Okay, Joe went to the bathroom. I was sitting in the waiting room. The security officer was not originally in the waiting room. Okay, he all of a sudden appears in the waiting room. He stares at Joe as he intently goes in the bathroom. He stares intently at Joe as he goes into the bathroom, and then peeks to the right and looks at me. Then he immediately turns on his computer, and it was so obvious he was reading about us on the computer, because the lethal cult with the police have pictures of us on some kind of website to identify us, so that when we come into offices to get help and benefits that we rightfully deserve as United States citizens, we are not to get it. Please note, in the state of Vermont, I get V-Farm, and I'm supposed to pay its medical insurance, Medicaid. And I'm supposed to pay $0 for it according to our income, and they're making me pay top dollar for it, which is $50. Plus, they're unlawfully having me pay huge sums for secondary insurance when those is supposed to be reduced. Plus, we're getting food stamps, but we're getting like a minute amount of food stamps, which is ridiculous. Okay, and nobody will calculate it correctly for us. It's unbelievable. We went to V-Farm, okay, office, and in there, because they know that we cannot get a legitimate computer, it states, and we took a copy of the sign, but I don't have it with me because we're in the motel right now, but I'll show it another time. It says these computers are used for economic stuff only. Who writes economic stuff? Then it continues, if someone uses the computer for other reasons, consequences will follow. Now, this is definitely because they knew we were going to the V-Farm office, and they think we're desperate to find information on a computer, a legitimate computer, which we are. So if we were to sit at their smelly computers with that sign up, we would be probably in the guillotine right now with our heads chopped off. How could any governmental office state these computers are for economic stuff only? First of all, that's written by a very uneducated person. And there's all uneducated people in the Rutland, Vermont V-Farm office. Okay, it's like a hee-haw farm. And that if someone sits down and gets some kind of information that they need, they're gonna face consequences. Who writes such Nazi statements like that? This is the United States of America. The V-Farm office is very well aware that we don't have a legitimate computer, and those signs were written specifically for us. And in that V-Farm office, we couldn't even get help because we met imposters who didn't want to give us our business card, their business card. Please bear with me because I'm really tired. Okay, but I need to make these statements. Okay, I know the time's 5 minutes, Joe. Okay, they didn't. They refused to give us their business card. Okay, they were very arrogant and rude to us, and so we had to leave the office. I mean, this is the normal routine when we ask for a business card. I don't have one. I'm out of it. Okay, and this was supposedly the supervisor of the V farm. His name is Robert, I believe. I have it written down. It's Robert something. But he doesn't have a business card to give me. So I said, do you have stationery to give me? No, I don't. I don't have anything. Now, because of the RICO pattern of always meeting imposters, we couldn't remain there. Plus, he was very crude and arrogant. And he said, I will call the police because we wanted a business card from him. Okay? And since he would not give us his business card, he's going to call the police. So we immediately got up because that person is going to give us the right calculations for our benefits. I don't think so. We all don't. We all know that when you meet with somebody legitimate, they sit down with you, they're cordial to you, they immediately give you a business card. Immediately. We rarely get business cards, and if we do get a business card, it's usually a hoaxer who made up a business card. Very rarely do we sit down with legitimate people, and if we do, those legitimate people are taken away from us. Anyway, getting back to the Social Security office in Portland, Maine, as soon as they called Joe's name, we get up, and the security officer gets up, goes directly behind us, and comes with us to the caseworker. He stands directly behind us like we're in jail. So we said to the caseworker, we do not want the security officer to listen to all our financial and medical information. It's against HIPAA regulations. The caseworker says, well, he does this all the time. I said, what are you talking about? He cannot stand behind clients who are applying for Social Security disability and hear all our personal confidential information. So we requested the manager of the office. In comes a female employee, white, middle-aged, who was the usual arrogant, crude, RICO conspiring party, stating also, he always does this. So I said, what are you talking about? He always does this. He stands right behind a client and listens to all their personal, confidential, financial, and medical information. She said, yes, he does. That's his job. So I said, and Joe said, no, he isn't. As soon as we said that, if you don't behave yourself, you're disorderly, I'm calling the police. This is what goes on all the time when we expose the corruption. After about 15 minutes or so, this crude security guard that was listening to all our conversation finally leaves, and we felt like we could talk more comfortably to the caseworker. Anyway, to make a long, horrific story short, like I always say, this caseworker never wrote down why we need Social Security, why my husband needs Social Security disability, what makes him disabled. She never wrote down the truth, anything. She left it blank. Instead, she said to us, I have another client to go to. After she promised us she was going to write a detailed, description of why my husband needs Social Security disability. So we leave that office all disappointed and knew it wasn't going to work out. Okay? And as we leave the office, there's the security officer standing with his hands folded, okay, standing up like a security guard, okay, with another individual with dark glasses, another police officer, okay, and they're both staring at us as we leave. This was a set-up situation. They wanted us to respond and maybe hit them, curse at them. Instead, I said to Joe, let's get out of here. And Joe said to me also, let's get out of here. I was about to use the bathroom because I had to use the bathroom, but I said, you know what? Let's just get out of here. We go outside. We see Homeland Security vehicle parked right in front of the Social Security office. So the individual who was with the other security officer was a police officer from Homeland Security. Okay? So we took videos of his SUV. And what we did, because we knew that after about 10-15 minutes after we leave the office, the Homeland Security officer would leave the office, and this would prove that he was there for us. As predicted, we were outside in our car. Here walks out a short, middle-aged man with dark glasses, sunglasses, okay? He's about 5'6", slightly overweight, in his 30s to 40s, white male. Alright? We were in our car, and he's in his car. So what I did, I walked out of the car, and I walked down the street where his vehicle is parked, and I walked around his vehicle, because I cannot live like this anymore. He did nothing. So then I walked down the street, a little up the corner of the street, then I came back and crossed the street, and then he screams at me from the car, is something the matter? So I said, yes, something definitely is wrong here. I said, why were you in the Social Security office with that corrupt security guard that did everything wrong to us? She says, I was called to the office for you and your husband because you were disorderly. I said, I beg your pardon? I said, we were not disorderly. It was a security guard that was disorderly. Okay? And I explained to him all the illicit activities. And I explained to him about the satanical cult and that he's Homeland Security and he should be in charge of getting the terrorists of the satanical cult and not badgering and abusing us. Anyway, to make a long story short, this occurred on June 20th. Of course, he does nothing to help us because he's aiding and abetting the lethal corruption and says to us, I think you should call the FBI, very well knowing that the FBI, at least the FBI we met, is all corrupt as well, because this is what it's all about. It's all about law enforcement corruption and the satanical cult. And this law enforcement is protecting the satanical cult because everyone's making money from the satanical cult. So one hand washes the other until this huge RICO scandal is exposed. And the whole thing behind it is that Susan and Joseph Tropeano must die because they know too much. And we sure do know too much. And it's devastating for us. And it has to cease and desist immediately. And I'm talking to the corruption right now. And you're not to lay a finger on us. Because every day you get closer and closer to killing us. And we will not allow this to happen. And the citizens of the world know all this. And if anything, God forbid, happens to us, it will be you who will be placed in jail for murdering us. As citizens of the world, I got to explain to you what occurred the next day, June 21st, 2012. We went back to that Social Security office, okay? Joe actually went in, okay, because I'm getting too sick and too traumatized and terrorized from all this, and so is Joe. But I have diabetes, and my numbers are skyrocketing because of all this trauma and terror, and I cannot be exposed to this anymore. So Joe went in, and he met with the manager of the office and said he wants his application revoked from this office because it's self-evident that his application will never be awarded for Social Security disability, as this office is extremely corrupt, just like the Rutland, Vermont was. Anyway, I have to end this video now. I will come back to explain the brutal, devastating encounter I had with Police Officer Hamel from Homeland Security.